What is the truth humanity is not ready to hear? Most people simply don't care about the things you're passionate about, no matter how much you try to convince them that they should be. I love it when people talk passionately about stuff, even if I'm not particularly interested in it. No matter where you work, or what you do for a living, there will always be that person that nobody can figure out how they got hired, never mind why they are allowed to continue working there. I remember seeing a post on Reddit that seems to answer it. It basically says that to keep most jobs you just need to tick 2 out of 3 of the following attributes. I might have misremembered one. You actually show up on time. Your work is not the worst and passable. Your colleagues and bosses don't hate you the most out of your colleagues. 4. It's more difficult to kick you out than to keep you. 5. You have some control over those in charge, some kind of relation, having some kind of incriminating evidence, etc. We will never have a good sense of the world's normal. News won't focus on it, because it's boring by definition. Social media won't focus on it for the same reason. Word of mouth and fiction too. Statistics may get us close, but they're hard to picture in terms of human experience. And of course, more exciting stats get repeated more. Our view of the world outside of our own personal experience will always be shaped by the outliers, and there's not much way around it. Reminds me of the book Factfulness by Hans Rosling. He has a great TED talk too. In a large-scale natural disaster we are all pretty effed. Imagine a scenario with no power, no cell or internet communication, etc. for an unknown or even infinite amount of time. Very few would ever be ready for such an event. My work in a power outage totally shuts down. At the end of the day we are just animals overcomplicating the same things all animals desire. Food, shelter, and mates. 100% agree. We're not killing the world, we're killing ourselves. The world will go on. Life will go on. Actually, humanity is overdue to hear that. We are going to have to learn how to deal with and accept our differences, because unless we can work together to pool our intellectual resources, humanity is doomed to die on this planet either in the near future or in the far future. We cannot live here forever, especially considering how badly we've treated the place. Maybe this is an odd sentiment, but I've always been rather okay with the idea that humanity never leaves this planet and even goes extinct. I've never really thought living on a planet we aren't adapted for or have to spend thousands of years to even get to made much sense. And honestly, humanity is a bit aggressive and destructive. Probably not good that we live on forever as we are. You know all those movies where we battle the evil aliens? We'll be those evil aliens. We're extremely selfish and have no respect for other life. If aliens master interstellar travel to find us first, they will be in control of technologies and powers that are far beyond our current understanding. If they decide to get rid of us, there will be exactly nothing humans can do. They only need to stay in orbit and drop a few tons of antimatters, and it's game over for humans in less than 15 minutes. On the other hand, an intelligent life form who can harness the power of antimatter, but hasn't destroyed themselves, may be far more benevolent and less genocidal than humans. So maybe we will become the bad guys one day. No matter how much you push people, you can't make them change. You can only change yourself and hope to lead people to change. It's like trying to force water to boil by vigorously shaking it, thinking the molecules are moving enough to turn to gas, when you could just as easily build a fire to add a steady supply of heat. We talk like we want to save the world, but the true method of saving the world and reversing man-made climate change would require a sacrifice precious few humans would be willing to make. And I don't mean precious in a good way. Saving the world is such an arrogant statement. It's not about saving the world. It's about keeping our human habitat nice and dandy. The planet has and will survive worse things than we could possibly ever do. Politics is the new religion. We're all ignorant fools. Opinions are now more important than facts. Everyone knows enough to think they're right, but not enough to know they're wrong. Opinions are now more important than facts. The ability to change our opinions when new fact comes calling and are able to convince us should be one of the most important attributes for human to have. Yet we are just unwilling to change our opinions because when facts are presented they for some reasons feel more like a personal attack than a discourse. We keep thinking the world is getting worse, but the truth is that the world has always been awful and difficult. We just grew up and realized it. In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move. Humanity's best interests lie in mutual cooperation. We are stuck in ego competition mode. In a world with enough resources, if we collectively have the ability to seek out each individual human life on the planet and improve that person's life, we morally should. To do less is selfishness. It may be within your rights according to this or that government agreement, or you may blame this or that reason as to why you don't want to, but it's still complete selfishness. Each of us individually share the collective responsibility for how the human race will turn out, but we turn to ego and competition instead of mutual cooperation and collective strength. A lot of the topics we think about on a daily basis would seem so completely inconsequential after living on the streets for even a week, but we fail to consider that there are real actual human beings living that very experience we dread. Too many of us turn away and refuse to help. As long as people still need help, we have no right to sit comfortably. It's just wrong. And we aren't ready to hear that yet. The harsh truth. I've been saying this for quite some time. Believe me, people prefer to tune it out. The next 30 years are going to get interesting. That we might genuinely not be smart or talented enough to manage the complex civilization and technology we've rapidly built. The human brain has changed very little from when we were hunter-gatherers, and yet we expect more from it every year as we expand our knowledge and crafts. The brain is amazing, but it is not infinite in its potential, and we're seeing people get overwhelmed by the rapid rate of change, being unable to keep up. The solutions are many, but some will require much more radical change than others. We're always going to create an externality that leads to our extinction. Humans are poorly engineered at the base level. Our brains are woefully inefficient energy-wise for a start. Our backs are screwed up due to a poor transition from going from quadruped to biped. And unlike sharks, we get one permanent set of teeth that's supposed to last our whole lives. God forbid whatever happens to our mouths from inside or outside forces. Also, our breathing hole and food water hole are the same hole, and the only thing that keeps food and water from going into our lungs, which, the food tube is behind the air tube, is a little bit of cartilage. Whereas dolphins and whales have separate air and food holes. We are a mess of biological glitches and screw-ups that Mother Nature saw and said, well, it works. The human body is a Bethesda game. Humans are the reason why we can't have nice things. We're not capable of sharing any kind of compassion with people who we don't want to associate with. I have insomnia, and so I typically lay in bed awake, sometimes with company. I have yet to sleep next to a person, one night stands included, who didn't fart at least once in their sleep. In the very, very early days of our relationship, my now husband and I fell asleep and his hand was on my butt. I farted so loudly and right onto his hand that it woke us both up. He claims he doesn't remember. Listen, I still wish I was dead. That it's probably already too late to reverse anthropogenic global warming. I'm serious. There seems to be about a 15-year lag between changes to the CO2 balance and actual changes in warming. Given current trends, if the experts are right, the upward spiral has already begun. Not 15 years from now, not 5 years from now. This are going to start bad and get much, much worse long before anything we do now can have any real effect. I feel you, but let's not pass the not doing enough stage straight into the it's too late to do anything stage. Even if it's just damage limitation for the worst hit, it's important to feel a sense that we can make small difference in an area that universally inspires a feeling of impotency and apathy. Your friggin' brand name clothing doesn't mean squat at the end of the day. And men are ugly as frick. Stop taking advantage of people who are kind. People have taken advantage of me and I just curse people in my mind, and it makes very hard to trust the next person. One time I was working at gas station and a customer filled $4 gas and said my house is just near, forgot wallet, and I'll be back with money, so I only took a little gas. As human, I trusted that and then I paid it. They never showed up, and now when somebody's in real trouble I'll think twice to help them. In the name of humanity, don't fake promises if you can't pay, be honest. That's all I ask. Keep being kind, but you've got to develop an edge. Just because something is negative doesn't mean that it's the truth. We've fallen into the habit that all of life is terrible, and hence if someone has a super negative worldview, they're seen as more real. The world is a balance of ups and downs, but men tend to either only look at it from a super positive or super negative outlook most of the time. Both can be harmful. Extremes are never healthy in any context. Try to keep everything balanced, not too much and not too little. That on some fundamental level every decision you make and everything you ever do for yourself or other way is done because it benefits in some way, even if that way is just making you feel good about yourself. We're a plague on our own environment and will eventually make it uninhabitable to ourselves, killing off our own species, and only the extinction of our species will allow our environment to recover. The floods, the fires, the hurricanes, all are just a reaction to a disease, like a fever. One day the disease will be wiped out and the host will recover. Cycles restored. That you cannot bribe or lobby Mother Nature. It's just chemistry and physics. Mother Nature is going to put the infinite growth model of capitalism in a headlock and jump off the top of the ring ropes onto a folding table. All the hard work, suffering and sacrifice countless generations have endured to keep the human race going is going to be for absolutely nothing. Not everyone is intelligent. Not everyone is going to be a CEO. Not everyone is going to be an astronaut. Not everyone is going to succeed in life. Here in the US, the US Constitution gives you the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No one is guaranteeing you will be happy. You are worth more than you think, so stop wasting your time on something that you don't need or someone that does not worth. That no matter who you are and how nice you sound, if you're an adult man talking to a kid is considered creepy, but not women. This is both true and really sad. My grandfather was an extremely jovial man. He used to absolutely love seeing children experience joy, having raised 2 kids of his own and helped out with 4 grandkids. Once we grew up, he missed being able to make children smile. He used to buy ice cream for random children that were lurking around the ice cream parlor without parents or money to hand. Invite others to play games with my siblings and cousins if they were around the ball diamond or playground while we were playing there. Just a very welcoming and considerate man. Once, he was at the mall waiting for grandma to finish her shopping. He saw a child in the food court staring longingly at a gumball machine. He walked over to speak to the child and give him a few quarters so he could get some gumballs. The parent stormed over and basically chased him off, assuming he was some kind of weirdo or pedophile or something. I remember he was very sullen and disappointed when he recounted the story to my mom a few days later. After that, I never saw him approach another child in public. It always saddened me that because of a very small number of very sick people, all men are basically blocked from performing random acts of kindness for children. When he was growing up, it wasn't the case. You knew the members of your community, so you needn't be as afraid of strangers. Now, cities have gotten so big and mobility is so high that there is no real sense of community for most people. It was very hard for him to accept the change. Our lifestyle in the West is unsustainable and built upon a horrific amount of human suffering. The reason we can go to Walmart and buy 10 pairs of socks for like $4.00 is because we have virtual slaves working for pennies to make those things for us. I'm an Irish immigrant living in the US, and although my political opinion is middle of the road, I have traveled the world extensively and I can say with absolute conviction that the US is one of the best places I've ever lived. I've lived in Africa, UK, Ireland, Australia, Dubai, New Zealand, and I've traveled to more places you can shake a stick at. Sure, there's plenty that's wrong with American society, but it will provide for those who are willing to put crap aside and work hard for a living. I've been very fortunate, but I've also sacrificed a heck of a lot in my life to get to where I am today. I've never been to a country that is so divided by race and politics anywhere in the world. The fundamental difference I've noticed since coming here is that people hate each other and their own neighbor, but fail to realize they've been very fortunate to be born into a pretty rich and diverse country. My 2 cents. I feel like US is a place for energetic people. If you know your ways around people and communicate well, you can get really far in that country. It's a shame that I am wasting my years on a fricked up country with no future at all. And the cherry on top of the cake is that I can't leave IT. Be freaking grateful you guys live in a first world country. That we are all doomed. We're too far gone to save the environment. The world is overpopulated. Dictators are coming back. The general population is sliding back into the desperate poverty that is the rule for 99% of human history. We're encouraging the rise of antibiotic-resistant diseases. Automation is making us all redundant faster than we can change our perception. Frick us all to heck. Alright, here we go. All things are centered on the flow of work, only to make someone else richer. I mean drugs, for instance. You have a debilitating headache? Tylenol is your answer so you can ignore your headache and get back to work. You wake up early for work but feel like a zombie? Drink coffee to wake up and get to work. Even vacations. We're only allowed a certain amount of days because if not, we're not making our boss money. At the end of the day, whether it be work or buying coffee at Starbucks or buying sippy cups for little Tommy, we make someone else richer while we stay at the same place. But that's how life is designed. It's designed to make someone money 40 hours, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year constantly. To never come up out of that because you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. Oh, you know that space launch that Jeff Bezos went on? Yeah, your vacuum you ordered from Amazon funded that. The best part is, you're not going to space, nor will any of the millions of people that work for him. It's just a hey, I have hundreds of billions of dollars, so why not? If we threw all the money in the world at society's problems, it would not make a difference. The cure would require individuals to give themselves. Create a larger family unit out of troubled people who are difficult and strangers. Nobody wants to deal with baggage that is not theirs. Climate change is probably real, but you're kidding yourself if you think humanity is ever going to come up with a solution in time to stop it. Get used to it, cause it's here to stay. Also, humanity is destined to fail. Enjoy it while you can. Spot on. The Terminator said it in Terminator 2. Judgment Day, it is in your nature to destroy yourselves. Most people don't really want freedom or responsibility. They want to be children with some institution, government, religion, science, Tom Brady, to be their parent and have a set path for them. It is very possible that we will not be able to innovate our way out of climate change, and we're already Earth's last generation of humanity. Love is an illusion that all concerned simply choose to see. As soon as one party stops seeing it, it's dead as fried chicken. This includes family. Love is a dagger. You are fat. No, it's not just water retention or bloat. It's fat. Doesn't make you less beautiful, but you are fat. And no, obesity isn't healthy. Bruh, my BMI is like 18. I wish I had some fat. Quality of life will decrease on average now. Not only do we have frigging climate change, but gross wealth inequality just amplifies stuff. I don't think it's worth it to have kids. I think people who have kids are dooming them to a worse life than they themselves have had, and I think it borders on selfish. Rich or not, climate change will suck. There's still air pollution. We're still killing all the phytoplankton that literally keep us alive with oxygen. We're fricked. The best of societies have peaked in the last 50 years or so. Except that the average person lives a better life than in any time in our history. Financially anyways. You see, Doctor, God didn't kill that little girl. Fate didn't butcher her and destiny didn't feed her to those dogs. If God saw what any of us did that night, he didn't seem to mind. From then on I knew, God doesn't make the world this way, we do. That our society is not sustainable for another 50 years. I'm curious to hear you flesh this out more. What do you mean by not sustainable? I do think the US is facing some kind of economic reckoning within the next 50 years due to a variety of things. I could be completely wrong, but it feels like something's gotta give eventually. The cost of education is out of control. Inequality gets worse each day. Deficit spending continues to be the norm and the national debt swells. Wages are not growing as fast as prices. Healthcare is a leading cause of bankruptcy. The national grows more divided, etc. Maybe things will gradually return to more sustainable levels, but I don't think that will be the case. No clue what will cause it or when, but can't shake the feeling something is looming. And no, I don't mean a run-of-the-mill downturn. If you think society is on the verge of some Mad Max collapse, I wouldn't go that far. Again, no evidence but just my gut feeling. The next world war will be over fresh water, not energy. The Arctic Ocean, my friend. The Arctic Ocean. Greenland, Siberia, Canada, Denmark, Russia, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland and the USA, probably others as well, will have access to so many useful resources from that. The ice melting will actually provide us with a new resource income at least. It's sad, but that's how it is. So you are more than right. It will inevitably happen unless every superpower decides to unite and share everything. Mayo, you thought, ain't gonna happen. The customer is not always right. Also, this doesn't mean what people think it means. People like to think this is in reference to the individual because that feeds into their story of them being special in some way. What it really means is that on an economic scale, the customer, the collective group with purchasing power, is always right, and a business that tries to sell the customer something they don't want will fail. If the buyer's market says they want peaches instead of plums, you sell them peaches. To try to sell them plums would be foolish. You as a business can't possibly know what is best for the customer, even if you think you do. It's the whole bring a horse to water scenario. If a product isn't selling well, you stop selling it. There is no demand for it. If you can't keep an item on the shelf or you order more of it, you do what the customer is telling you they want you to do instead of what you yourself think should be done. People don't want democracy, they want a dictator they agree with. The only downfall to democracy is that it gives an equal voice to anyone, no matter how unreasonable or traitorous. If everyone was participating in good faith with only the good of the nation and everyone in it, it would 100% be the best. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people would cut off both their legs if it means their enemies lose a single leg. It's normal for humans to be lazy. We didn't evolve to be perfectly efficient hive insects. To piggyback on your point, all personality traits serve a logical purpose for survival. Laziness is huge for energy conservation when there's scarcity. It can also inspire the creativity to make more efficient systems that rely less on people having to do something. We'd probably never have civilization if some group of bums didn't try to make their workload smaller through division of labor. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.